The following video has been approved by the Jetty marketing team. The video has been rated Jetty. The following video may not be suitable for all viewers.
G'day mate, welcome back to Dyson Sphere with me, Jetty. Today, I want to go over probably a new concept to a lot of you, and also sort of an answer to my previous video where we covered rare materials, and a lot of you guys mentioned why didn't I process things on planet rather than shipping the raw materials back to a home world, because if you process them on planet, the density of the materials increases, and there are pros and cons to both methods. I think that's probably the best way of summing it up. So I'm going to talk about normal resources first. We'll cover the rare resources maybe towards the end of the video, but first off we're going to cover iron. So, well, our base resources. So we have iron, we have copper, we have stone, we have silicon, we have titanium, and of course we have coal. Now, iron goes into magnets at a 1-to-1 ratio. So there's no increase in ore density by processing the iron ore first into magnets. Same with iron ore into iron plate. Same story, it's a 1-to-1. Iron into steel is definitely a 3 ore into 3 plate into 1 piece of steel. So again, there's a massive increase in density because if your logistics vessels only carry 200 per shipment, and they use a single warp core, well, 2 warp cores to go there and back, obviously you'd much prefer 200 steel rather than 3 trips to get 600 iron to then convert that into 200 steel at the other end. Copper, it is a 1-to-1. Okay, again, no density increase. Stone into brick is a 1-to-1, no density increase. Stone into glass is a 2-to-1, so you do double the density by processing it on site. Silicon, same story, it is a 2-to-1, so again you get that density increase. We have titanium ore into titanium plate, again 2-to-1 density increase. And then finally we have coal into energetic graphite, which again is a 2-to-1. So there are pros and cons to definitely processing things on site. Now, this is my current base in a much earlier save. As you can see, I'm only 16 hours in this save, and if we go out to map view, we can see that I'm definitely processing titanium. Here I have, what's that? 1.5 million, 1.4 million, 1.4 million, 1.3 million, 1.3, 1.4, and I've got all the belts being smelted, joined together, and then run all the way up to my single transportation tower. And this is early game. This is pre-warp. This is my second planet in my home system. If we zoom out, we can see, yeah, my home system is definitely here, with one little ship that's struggling along at snail-pace speed, and I'm still launching Dyson sails. It's really early game. In fact, I've only got, Mark II belts here. But let's come back and look at this in like 100 hours, and know full well that in 100 hours, I've colonized many other planets. I have set up smelters on many other planets. And we're back. We're back on, well, my lovely planet, with my lovely Jetty Plays, and a couple of other Dyson bits that we've added in the last 110 hours in this game, okay? Now, you're going to notice a couple of things. One, these reserves are no longer 1.5 billion. They're much less. In fact, if we follow the line along, we can see that this one's almost been drained. This one's getting, well, it's half what it was. This one's down to 500,000 as well, and on top of that, I actually think I have 2 belts of titanium now. Yeah, I've got 2 belts of titanium we're bringing in, because I'm now moving 30 items per second, and it's shipping out reasonably fast. But on top of that, if we go back out to map view, I've actually, this planet did have 1.7 million iron ore here. It's all gone. Okay, it did have 9 million copper. It's all gone. It never had any silicon. I haven't really touched the stone, nor have I really touched the coal, because let's be honest, yeah, there wasn't really enough coal here to bother. In fact, I'm not sure where that coal went. No, turns out we are shipping it. I have no idea where that coal went. Okay, so there's a couple of things you may notice. One, as I said, in 110 hours. You might say 110 hours is heaps of time, Jetty. It is, don't get me wrong. But 110 hours, I've almost depleted this second planet. On top of that, I am making sure a couple of things. So one, I've taken many smelters and tagged them together, and then we're running Mark III belt. And if we continue and follow the belt through, it's joining into another Mark III belt, into another Mark III belt, and then that belt goes that way. This is another Mark III belt that's also coming up from this node. Oh, this node's done. This is dead. That's gone. So I have a whole bunch of smelters here not doing anything. They're still using power. They are still definitely using idle power. They're probably taking up some amount of my processor video card processing power, doing a whole lot of nothing, along with the miners with flashy signs. It's probably costing some amount of resources. Won't really affect you unless you start running out, but this game is one of those games where I've had many people say it runs great, and I've had many people say I definitely need to buy a new graphics card. And then I'm bringing both these belts in here, and they're moving at a decent rate. In fact, let's turn that off so we can see things a little bit better. In fact, they're both moving at full speed. I'm putting in 60 per second. On top of that, you notice this one does not have any warp cores. So it means all the iron, all the titanium from here, and the stone, and the copper, and the iron ore, it turns out. Yep, there's iron ore stuck in here. And the coal is all only staying inside my home planet, my home system. So it's only being shipped across to my home planet. Now, that would be fine, except 80 hours ago, I moved across to this planet and set up a whole new station, okay? A whole new main base, a whole new home world, and I've spent more time there and have more production there than what I have here. So this one particular planet, rather than contributing to the rest of my network, because I didn't set up warpers, because I didn't do this, because I didn't do that, it's only been contributing to a very, very small slice of my total network. And actually, if we just take my 6 warpers and throw them in there real quick, I'm willing to bet things start taking off. Yeah, some copper left straight away. Okay, nobody wants titanium. Well, some copper left at least, and that will be going, I guarantee it. That's that ship there. And you're going to be going that direction. Or you've already left. You left with the warp core. No, I must have 2 copper vessels leave at about the same time. And yeah, I guarantee one of them went out to Alpha, because as you can see, there's a little bit of a main production route of ships going there. So, as I said, I want to explain this concept to you. Rather than having many different smelters on different planets, potentially processing your copper ore, your copper plate, well, your copper ore, your iron ore into iron plate, and you got to do magnets. Don't forget you got to do steel. Then you got to do stone, and then you got to sort of load balance each one of them depending on what you need on an end planet, and that's definitely not keeping up anymore. Yeah, these miners are not keeping up anymore at all. Yeah. So I want to explain to you a different concept. So remember all those little smelters we set up? We forgot one for glass. Glass. There we go. All those little smelters we set up, and yes, you do get a compression, a density increase. If you smelt certain materials on site. And don't get me wrong. You know, silicon only goes in a silicon plate. Titanium only goes in a titanium plate. Coal really only goes into the graphite, and you don't really seem to need that much of it. Stone has a couple of options. Copper only goes into copper, and iron has many options. So you can either take part of this principle or all this principle. All depends on how you want to set things up. But it'd be very common for you to set up a copper. Probably not with that recipe. Probably with that recipe. And make smelter block after smelter block after smelter block. Actually, can we go God mode, please? Thank you. And I'm running blue belt, so technically this would have to be 30 long, and then I'd have to put in all the sorters, and it'd be a nightmare. Wrong button. But there's another option. There's another option I want to explain to you, and this is what I refer to as a planetary smelter. So over here in this system, I am importing just raw materials. just raw material. So this, as you can see, is bringing in all the stone. It's bringing it in either via a logistics vessel or by a logistics drone, because this planet turns out has a decent amount of stone on it. So I plan on processing what I can out here first to get rid of it to give me more space to build. But as you can see, rather than me having to load balance to make sure I have the right amount of smelters either set up doing glass or stone, because it's all coming out of one station, it's just half into stone, half into glass, and then pumped into another station at the other end. Now this station has warp cores. It also has local vessels. Doesn't really need the local vessels, but this station is 10,000 stone, 10,000 glass. We can continue on to titanium. Titanium only goes to one resource, and if I check this really quickly, I can see obviously I'm not mining enough titanium ore. Okay, that's another big pro for this type of setup. I can click that tower, and we see I got plenty of titanium plate. Remember the planet we were just looking at? It had plenty of titanium plate as well. But obviously I don't mine enough titanium ore because this is not full. I need to mine titanium ore faster. I've got 6 ships out collecting titanium ore from I don't know where. It really doesn't matter. That's sort of the beauty of this system. It just works, and obviously if I'm finding out that whatever production I'm doing happens to fall short on titanium, I can then come over here and say, is it short on titanium, i.e. I'm not smelting it fast enough, or is it short on titanium ore, there's not enough available in the network. You know, we just launched another ship, obviously somewhere another interstellar logistics station had another 1,000 titanium in it, so therefore the ship left. We'll leave iron for just one second. We'll go talk about copper, because it's very much the same story. Like, just rows and rows and rows of smelters, which means rather than me having to set up potentially 1, 2, 3 types of 3 of these smelters on each different planet to make sure I'm processing all the copper possible, to make sure it's all being loaded into the interstellar logistics as copper plate, I'm just bringing in the raw ore. And then this main planet becomes my smelting, which means anytime I visit an outpost, it is literally, oh look, here's some titanium. We shall drop down miner, transportation, throw down one of those. Logistics, belts, go away. You can plug in there. Belt. Can we come out first and then plug that one in there? You can go away as well. Everywhere powered? Cool. And then we're going to run you into a uncharged logistics station, and this will be slightly different because I happen to be on the same planet. But whether it's the same planet or whether it's a distant planet really doesn't matter, because it means the ships from this planet, my ships from my... Do you even have little ships? You do have little ships. You're not set to local demand. That's the killer. It means that ships are going to automatically come and pick up the materials, which means every single time I go to a new planet and I want to set up a new outpost for a new material, I can literally put down the miners, put down a logistics station close to it, far from it, other side of the planet. It really doesn't matter. I can plug the whole lot together and then walk away, and then my smelting planet takes care of the hard work. So my smelting planet is the one that's flying out there. Which one's actually in use? Here we go, stone. So, nope, stone is definitely not in use. Titanium was in use. So, this planet then becomes the one that flies out there, takes the warp cores from here, which means I also simplify the logistics of trying to move around warp cores, because this planet's leaving, taking the ship, taking 2 warp cores and the power, one to get there, one to get back, and I don't have to worry about the hassles of trying to get warp cores out to distant planets, trying to get enough power out of distant planets, because funnily enough this whole planet is running on 200 megawatts, which is, we'll turn that overlay back on. It does, I am lucky that it has a wind ratio of 150%, but it's just running on wind turbines. Because I don't need the extra space yet, because this smelting setup is everything I need currently for the size of base I am. Now, if I find that I'm using more than... Well, hang on. 30, 60, 90, 180, 270. If I find I'm using far more than 270 copper per second, then I'm literally going to put down another tower at the end, set it up for copper, build out another however many rows of smelters that is, plug it all in, plug it into a station at the other end, and bang, I've doubled my copper throughput. Okay, we've gone from 270 copper per second up to 540 copper per second. Another thing I do want to mention, and again, because you're using potentially unpowered logistics stations, you may run into an issue. We're sort of running into it here. No. Actually, we were sort of running into it with the titanium. No, we didn't have enough supply. Okay. Just going to have to imagine for me, okay? If you sort of run into the issue where you can't get your ships to go pick up material fast enough and bring it back here fast enough, because don't forget, every station at the other end is unpowered, okay? They have no power, they have no ships, there is nothing they can do. You're sending your ships from here, which means you can only have 10,000 out at once, or 10 ships out at once when they're fully upgraded. They are moving 1,000 per trip. So I don't see you having this problem, but if you're, you know, at one side of... If you're at one side of the cluster and your closest silicon for some reason is at the far side of the cluster and your ships have to travel 40 light years, maybe you'll have this issue. But if you do, what we can do is we can set you to filter number 1, set you to... I didn't set a filter. Set you to filter number 1. Load in a second lot of ships. A power from there to there. Have you bring in silicon. Have you bring in warp cores. There we go. Just like 100. Local demand. Storage, and then yeah, I didn't set lots of filters. Set you to 1, set you to 1, and charge faster. Set that button, and as you can see, I'm now sending ships out from this end to go collect silicon as well. So I can increase my throughput by another 90 items per second, or possibly more, all depends on how many of the ports you've used on the front, by making sure that I have a second system feeding into the first system, which means rather than having a maximum possible 10 logistics vessels going out and bringing back material, I can double it up to 20 without too much hassle. At the same time, as you can see, it hasn't taken up a lot of the planet. Iron is an exception. We're going to cover iron in a second. But it really doesn't cover much of a planet. And lastly, because this is in the same solar system as my main production planet, it means this one's using all the warp cores to go out and get material. And then this one, we're so far away, we're using warps to go across the... Yeah. Because, in theory, it's in the same solar system. Change that up to 20, 18, 20, somewhere there. Yeah, they're using warp cores to jump. Come back to that one. They're using warp cores to jump across the star because it's a blue, it's a type O star, so it's very, very large. Okay, with that fixed, hopefully, there we go. Look. Lots of ships going across at slowpoke speed. But yes, you can see that this is a main logistics hub. This is also, it's got something similar set up here with a lot of intermediate production on Alpha, whatever. Alpha Cali 2. Actually, 1 has a whole bunch of hydrogen that we're pulling back. But yeah, this is a main production hub, and consequently ships are going back and forth, left, right, and center. On top of that, iron. Let's cover iron and steel really quickly. So, I'm not actually making magnets here. I intentionally don't make magnets on this planet because magnets are used so seldomly. I generally just process them on site. But I'm bringing in iron ore here, and I have what you would call the Lasagne method. I think it was racers who explained this method to me, and I absolutely adore it for compact builds. It's frustrating to build, but it's very, very compact. it works 10,000 times better if you're tinted there. Okay, so what we're doing is we're bringing in 1 iron ore, 2 iron ore, 3 iron ore belt, because don't forget 1 steel, one steel requires 3 iron plates. So we're smelting iron and direct inserting the steel, but you might notice that the steel build is very, very long. But you'll see there's these little dips here. These little dips here is when we've consumed a full belt of iron ore, i.e. 30 smelters long. We actually stop that bottom line belt and then bring another belt in from the level above down to ground level, and then run it through another 30 smelters. And then when we get to 30 smelters in, right here, that line ends, and then the next line, the third line, which has then become the second line, which has now become the bottom line, continues along. And when it gets to the end of, there we go, the end of another 30 smelters, it stops. And you might notice that my iron plate is the exact same. This is about halfway through the smelter, and you can see as an iron ore lane drops, a new iron plate line starts up, and as you can see, it is layered. Can we get the flying mode, please? Has a couple of extra belt there for reasons. Layered and layered and layered and layered until we get right to the end, where they carve out gracefully and feed in here. And consequently, we're doing 30, 60, 90, 180 iron per second from one very, very narrow build that does stretch, hang on, north, yeah, over the North Pole, all the way around the planet, and then some. It's a sizable build. But yes, this is something I wanted to show you guys. On top of that, as for rare materials themselves, can we pop down one of those? Okay, rare materials themselves. The photon combiner from optical grading crystal, it's not worth turning it into a photon combiner on site. You're much better to ship the raw materials back. On top of that, it also means if you set up this method and you run out of raw resources at a planet, you don't have smelters and other things hanging around doing nothing, or assembly machines, if we're now talking about rare resources, you just have a couple of miners sitting there doing nothing, which eventually you can pick up or forget about. Back to photocombiners. So photocombiners are also turn into cashmere crystals. Again, you're not going to have, like, it's going to cost you so much materials to ship out hydrogen and other things. It's not something you can actually process on site. The particle container, which requires unipolar magnets, that is the only one I would definitely say if you want to process on site. I don't blame you, because it does require 10 ore for one final product, and only requiring copper, which you'll probably find on planet, to be honest. If you don't find it on planet, you're probably going to be able to find it somewhere relatively close, and you can ship in the copper very, very easily and combine the two together to make the particle containers. Rare materials, otherwise, obviously sulfuric acid, you won't. What's it? Kimberlite ore. Kimberlite ore goes 1-to-1 into diamonds. Just ship it back as is as a raw material, because it's quicker and easier to set up, and then process it on your home planet. Organic crystal doesn't get processed, it's just mined out of the ground as is. Your carbon nanotubes, sure, you could process on site, but it's 2 material in for 2 material out. It's no real saving. And you wouldn't process graphene either, because you go 2 material up to 3 material. Crystal silicon is a 1-to-1. Like, I can't really see that many rare resources that you would want to actually process on site. The particle containers with the unipolar magnets, sure, that one I completely understand. Yep, that one I would definitely process on site. Cashmere crystals, maybe if you happen to find a local gas giant that also happens to have fire ice, maybe, so you can make the graphene to feed it into the recipe and then also have some hydrogen. Maybe that's sort of the best I could give you. Anyway, with that said, that's where we're going to end this video. I hope this explained why I ship things the way I do, and why I just much prefer having one planet and do all my shipping to and from with one planet. With look at all those ships. Like, that is a significant conga line of ships running back and forth, just running smelters. And because all the ships are up to you, my ships do have warp cores, so they do have warp cores at this end, so they can actually ship iron and steel back to my home planet on the other side of the solar system. But they don't have to. Actually, we should really slide that up to 20 as well. So yeah, they don't have to. You can always set up so your raw ore comes in with warpers, and then it's processed on site, and then the only place it can go is inside the same solar system, which means that you end up with, yes, massive amounts of ships going back and forth with all your raw, with all your processed materials, and simplify all your outposting. Anyway, with all that said, as always, I do hope you guys have enjoyed. I do hope you found this video helpful. By all means, if you have and you've learned something along the way, I'd very, very much appreciate it if you click the like button. Lastly, on your screen, probably right about now, you should see a playlist for my other how-to tips and tricks videos, where we have covered stuff like how to build a Dyson Sphere, how to set up all the different sciences, and like I said, yesterday's video, or the other day, last video, was how to go and get all the rare resources in the solar system, and which ones are going to benefit you the most, and which ones are you probably leave to a little bit later in the game. Anyway, with all that said, I do hope you guys enjoyed. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Alright, bye.